Recording in progress.
Buon pomeriggio, benvenuti e ben ritrovati al Film in Italy Sardegna Festival 2022. Oggi con noi abbiamo una grande ospite, una grande regista, una grande amica del cinema. Do il benvenuto a Julie Taymor. Welcome Julie, welcome to the Film in Italy Sardegna Festival.
Yes. Sorry I'm not actually there, but I'm here.
Oh, it will be for the next time. We will wait you. We really hope to have you here. Oh, first of all, I want to tell you we are going to be have this interview shared with a lot of students, Italian students, and a lot of public. And of course, I really need to start with your last movie, The Glorious, which is coming on Amazon Prime Video to us. It's a great biopic about Gloria Steinem. And how did it start? What led you to take this project?
Well, a friend of mine gave me her book, which is called My Life on the Road. I knew Gloria before. She lives in New York City, as I do, and I knew of her, and my mother and my sister are both really involved, have always been involved in politics. My mother passed away this year, but she was very much involved with politics and activism. So I was very aware of Gloria, but her book took me by storm. I thought the life that she has led in her 85 years now, but when I started the film, 80 years, was so extraordinary and important for not just women. I mean, I have to be honest, I think that men have liked this film equally, if not more, quite often than women, because they rarely get to see a film that is a road picture, number one. How many do we have? Thelma and Louise, and look what happens to the women in that. right? There's nothing triumphant about most road pictures with women, and there are so few. But I felt that her experience in the grassroots movement, this what we call the second wave of feminism, not about getting the vote in the early days, but this 1960s, 1970s era where women were looking for choice. Look at where America is now with our problems with the abortion law going back 50 years we've had it, and now it's going to go backwards. There's many things going backwards now in the United States. But Gloria and the women that she worked with, this is what I feel is the most exciting, was the various women that she canvassed with, that she went out and spoke with on the road, at universities, at marches, to change things for women. This was so fresh and so new, had never been done before in a film, never, this era. So I was taken by her, by the humor, by the idea, the challenge of how do you put 80 years on film? So it was an exciting project, and she was totally behind it. And then we had Julianne Moore get behind it before there was a screenplay. And this was going to open, in the beginning, we were going to celebrate the first female president, which was going to be Hillary Clinton. And of course, that didn't happen. So then this film became even more important.
And as you said, this book is covering a reach of time, which is the original book, 80 years. Was really hard to adapt this big amount of time, a book himself, into a screenplay for a movie?
Very, very. There were two of us, Sarah Rule and myself. And the tricky thing was, you're not going to have one or two actresses play Gloria. You're going to have four, because we have to show what her early life was like when she was 6, 7, 8 years old. Then when a girl turns 12, 13, they're radically different. So you can't have that child play the 12 or 13-year-old. And then Alicia Vikander plays roughly 18 to 40 to 38. And then we have Julianne Moore takes it on for the next 40 years. And then, as you see, we have the real thing. We have really Gloria Steinem. So there were 5. And that's why I called it the Glorias. But what I didn't want to do was make it linear, meaning I didn't want to go just from the beginning up through time. So the film jumps back and forth in time. And then this caused a problem, because how do you glue this together? What helps people with the spaces between the scenes? Like, why do you move from one to another? And I came up with a concept of the bus, and I call it the bus out of time. And this is a place where it's in black and white, so the audience knows that it is a kind of surreal thing, in the sense that it's constantly moving on the road, on the highway to the next march, rally, protest, teaching. And the various Glorias are able to talk to each other. They meet. The youngest Gloria meets with Alicia Vikander Gloria. They pass on their inner conflicts, their inner joys, their inner concerns. So this was a very surrealistic approach. But it is the glue that holds the thing together, this bus, because it is, again, a road picture. So the idea that Gloria in her life was constantly moving, never still. We had maybe 100 locations. So, including India. We flew to India to shoot her early years, which I think are the most important part of her life, was that time in India.
And you talk about the second wave of feminism. Looking at today, most of them looking at the movie industry as being heavily disputed today. Do you think the women now, the situation for the women is improved, is changed, they have more power, or is that something on the surface?
I don't really know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't live in Hollywood. I do the projects that I want to do. I can see that there are more women out there. Every time I'm talking, I'm seeing my film on the left side of the screen, so I have to shift back and forth. very distracting over there to see the movies. I wish I could just see you. Don't put my films up because I'm going ah. At any rate,
Okay.
the situation for films. I mean, obviously, we saw Jane Campion this year come out with a great film after many years. We've missed her, but there are a lot of younger women out there doing films, and I think that there has been a sea change. I know when I did Frida, I was the only one. You know, there wasn't anybody else in America. There had been, you've had Lena Wertmuller, we've had filmmakers from France, from all over the world, but very few. So, and I had a very hard time. I had a hard time getting the money for the Glorias. The money came independently. It came not for profit. It came from altruists. It came from people who cared about the subject matter and Gloria and liked my work. It did not come from Hollywood. You know, we have many movies about Winston Churchill or Martin Luther King or LBJ and all kinds of great male figures. But this female icon, Gloria Steinem, who's still living, who's still out there. She was just with Wilma Mankiller, the first female Cherokee chief, because who's passed away. She's a big part in the movie. She's amazing and was Gloria's best friend. She's now going to be put on a coin, on a 25-cent coin, a quarter in America. So at least people will say, who's that? What has she done? So, I mean, it was shocking to me that it was that hard to get money for a movie that had Janelle Monáe, Bette Midler, Alicia Vikander, you know, Julianne Moore, Tim Hutton, this extraordinary cast of actors. And yet people, Hollywood, well, you know, they think it's a political film. It's a very entertaining film about a very entertaining and brilliant woman.
Do you think it's just because you have these problems? I mean, it was also maybe not a commercial blockbuster, maybe also because many say that today
blockbuster. Well, there are smaller movies that have come out. I mean, no, I'll tell you the problem now is that we came out during COVID. So we opened at Sundance and had a spectacular premiere, 1,000 people screaming and cheering. It's of course, it's not a blockbuster, but there are many movies that have come out that aren't blockbusters. You know, that's not the only movies that get made. I think the perception that it's a female movie is a misconception. It is about the subject matter, but the actual story is compelling, and the women and the interaction, it's a love story between women. You know, it's not sexual. It's not a sexual love story. It's about women working with women and supporting women. And that's an unusual topic. You rarely see it. You see mostly films where women are fighting and competing for the male, and it's about a woman trying to get a boyfriend or a husband or a divorce the films about women are really about men, women vis-a-vis men. And I think one of the things that makes this so unique and so compelling is the relationships, the working relationships and the love between women and each other when they have a cause to fight for. And then the whole relationship of Gloria to her parents, I think a lot of people will find very interesting. Why she never married. Well, she did, but very late in life. And as you see, it was to give somebody a green card. It was more for convenience, for his convenience. But she had these incredible parents and saw her mother, who was very brilliant, who was a journalist, who stopped working when her father married her. And she saw her mother very unfulfilled, as many women in the 50s and 60s were. Many brilliant women did not get to fulfill their dreams and their talent. And then she saw her father, who she adored, who had this great attitude. If you don't know what's going to come tomorrow, it could be wonderful. So seeing what propels a great woman like this along is fascinating for people. She had a rocky early childhood. She took care of her mother. That's one of the reasons she never had a child. So I think people knew Gloria Steinem from Ms. Magazine on. They've seen her with her blonde streaks and her, famous aviator glasses and her chic and her style. But they didn't see what made Gloria. What being a bunny, they say, oh, she was a Playboy bunny. Yeah, but let's see why and what happened as a result. So, and also early feminists this time, Gloria was the one who knew that women of color, Black women, African Americans, Native Americans, Dolores Huerta, who was part of the grape pickers, the unions out in California with Cesar Chavez. These women were her comrades in arms. And she always went out and spoke with them. It wasn't a white woman only thing. And that's pretty unknown to most people. They think that white women basically excluded African-American women or women of color from this movement, which isn't true at all, because Black women led this movement. They were at the head of it. And there's a section where you hear that racism and sexism are intertwined and cannot be pulled apart. And I think there are many beautiful ideas that you get from this film, not just the joy of watching this young woman navigate the difficult waters of sexism and misogyny. She has such a great sense of humor that it's actually fun to watch her when she leaves the New York Times and has a ice cream sundae at 8 a.m. after her boss asked her to come meet him at a hotel. She doesn't get irate. She doesn't fall apart. She just quits. And I think there's so many things that young women love about Gloria that are tremendous role. She's a tremendous role model.
And thinking about the fact that, for example, the women always at the center of your filmography, and thinking about, okay, the Glorias, but also the storm across the universe, Frida. What do you think that today is wrong, to be more precise, with the representation of women?
Well, I mean, Titus, clearly my Italian film is, there's a great female part too, but that's normal for Shakespeare, 2 females, because men played those parts originally. So you didn't have a lot of men who could play females, but I pay attention to these roles in Titus. Across the Universe is equal. It's Jude's story as much as it is Lucy's. So I would say that's really a love story told through the Beatles' music. But then I was asked to do Frida. I took The Tempest and I put Helen Mirren in the role of Prospero and made her Prospera, because that I directed that play 2 or 3 times in the theater, and I really looked at it and saw that it works equally, if not better, with a female in the role playing a female Prospero, because it's witchcraft and magic was really the domain of women in that era, and they were the ones who were burned at the stake for the most part, or sent off to an island. And there were so many things that worked so much better in The Tempest with a woman. And then I had Helen Mirren. What am I going to do? Say no? It was great. But I do think that as a female director and as a woman, there's a point of view that I can bring and that I can open up. And women working with women, you uncover other things. I know that for some of the actresses, the great film stars I've worked with, I'm the first time they've ever worked with a woman. And that's fascinating because they can't use their usual ways in whether it's manipulation or enticement or whatever it might be that they can do with a male director. And often I also see, like for Salma Hayek, for instance, I think Frida is still probably her best role. I was able to get to the depths of what I knew Salma had to offer in Frida. I knew that there was so much more than the beautiful sexual Salma that everybody had seen. And a lot of male directors don't go further than skin deep. They just don't. So my mission was to be the midwife to Salma's passion for doing the story of Frida. That I wasn't as interested until I met Salma and I saw this gorgeous, beautiful 34-year-old actress who I had thought, like everybody else, didn't have a lot to give. I had no idea. I hadn't seen her do anything that was multi-layered. But when I heard her talk, her intelligence, her passion, her humor, I went, I've got to work with this woman. That's why I did it. And then I fell in love with Frida, the story of Frida. And Salma and I really had a great working relation. In fact, she called me yesterday and she just signed on to a film that I want to do right now. So I'm very excited because I'll work with Salma again. She was in Across the Universe as what do you call it, a cameo in Happiness is a Warm Gun. If people saw it in Sardinia today, I hope they saw it. She was the bang, bang, shoot, shoot nurse. And she said, "Oh, Julie, I have to be in your next film," which was Across the Universe. So she shines in that. There's 5 of her in Across the Universe. But yeah, I think, let me see. Yes, the next film I want to make is definitely female leads, female oriented. And, there's so many great stories for women to tell that haven't been told. So here I am. But I don't only want to do female stories. I mean, Titus is my favorite film, if you really want to know. And that's not as female oriented.
Well, then next and last question gotta be this. Which is your next project? What you have for us in future?
Well, I do theater and opera and film. I have about, like many directors, where we have to dangle and try and fish, for many projects at the same time. So I have about 4 film projects, 2 television series that I want to do. One is ready with the first 2 scripts, but none of these projects have been signed off. None of them are totally financed. They're all different levels. One is about guns in America, but it's not about guns in America. It's a beautiful story called Gun Love that Salma has just signed on to, that takes place in a trailer park in Florida. And it's really about the obsession of guns in America, but is about a young woman who gave birth to a child when she was 15 and has to bring her up in a trailer park. And the life, it's a beautiful poetic tale based on a novel by Jennifer Clemens, who had a movie out this year from Mexico called Prayers for the Stolen. If you saw it, it was up for an Academy Award. It was in the running at one time. That's one. Then I have a massively large, almost like a Marvel comic, huge film that is mythic and futuristic called White Tiger. And we're in the trenches in the talks, but it's giant and it's original. And it's an interspecies love story, and it's Asia and the rest of the world. And that's my passion. And I want to do that as theater, live theater in a new form. I can't get into it right now, but also as film. And Jaguar, which is a South American tale I did as theater. We have Antonio Banderas attached, and we are looking for the financing on that one. But it is a magical realist tale by Horacio Quiroga, an Uruguayan author. I did it in the theater, and it was extremely successful, went all over the world. And now we want to do it as a film. So again, financing. These are not your normal movies. None of them are. So they're not as easy to get support for. Let me see. And then the TV series are fascinating. Salman Rushdie and I want to, this is new. We want to do his book, The Ground Beneath Her Feet, which is India, London, Mexico, America, and it's the rock and roll era. And it's a fantastic novel. Magical realist, real, rock and roll, the whole thing, very musical. Let me see, there are a number because they take years. It took years for Frida, it took years for Grendel the opera, 20 years to do our original opera. So, if I'm talking to students, it's like a never ending. How do you hang on to all these things at the same time? And you get worried. What if they all happen at once? Well, good luck. But they don't, whatever falls into place, that's the one I'll do next. And it could be a $2 million. I want to adapt M. Butterfly, which I did on Broadway with Clive Owen, and Jin Ha. I want to adapt that to a kind of television hybrid. But see, it has to be whatever happens first. And then the large ones will take years anyway. I mean, they take years to develop. Once you get the financing, then they have animation, visual effects. There's so much planning to do that, it's a year before you even start shooting, at least.
What can I say, Julie? We hope to have you here soon with one of your new movies, new projects, of course. I wish you the best of luck, because your movies are something we really need, most of all in our times. Finally, of course, thank you for being with us. Thank you for your time, for your answers. And I repeat, hope you to get here in Sardinia the next year. And
Me
thank
too.
you.
Me
Thank you
too.
very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.